The history of Gore is interesting, though.
Yeah.
I think everybody, and I'm guilty of this too, everybody sort of thinks of Gore as this powerhouse German brand, but that's not the story.
No. So it was interesting to have, a scientist, that, originated, he worked for DuPont. And I think that, for me coming in from the outside world and then seeing, how you talked about humble, and when you see the Gore House, when you come to our innovation center and you spend time with us, you see that humbleness, of where, our grassroots were. The company started, very much like many great innovators, in the basement, of a home. Kids going off to college, where you got a balanced life and this new company, but to see it to emerge, into what it is today, it's, more than 14,000 employees, 5,000 patents, when you think of those things, sending product to the most, harsh environments, sending products to space and enabling society to advance itself. When you see all of those different dimensions, for me, I'm like a kid every day.
For sure. Yeah. It's probably just exciting to see. You're like, oh, wow, we're in that too. Oh, that's neat.
That's right.
What's the coolest industry that you've ever been a part of as far as like the Gore portfolio is concerned? Like, is there any particular category? Is it aerospace? Is it, I love electrical, but.
No, I would say to you is that what I do today is probably the best chapter.
Really?
So when I came to Gore, I started with sort of, now these are new inventions, new innovations, right? But they're pretty far up, in the funnel, and they're still being, envisioned and tweaked. And that can be maddening, if you really want to get out into the markets. And, sometimes it's, very selective interviews early in the process, right? And for me, getting out into the markets themselves, with now fully commercialized solutions, for me, that was just a bit more fun attached to it, because now we've got this embodiment, but we might be in a brand new space and we need to find partners like OEL that can help us project that story, help us build our brand, and ultimately build the next layer of trust.
What's the average life cycle? Like, or you said upper part of the funnel.
Yeah.
What's the largest or longest life cycle you've seen on to get a product to market that like it was way up in the funnel. It took us 20 years to get this thing to NASA finally or something like that.
Sure.
What's the average timeline on a pipeline or a funnel, I guess?
I'm not sure completely because there's probably so many different building blocks, that had to be put together in order to pull something off. But I have, witnessed, technologies where it's often I would hear the comment, we've been working on this for 10 years.
Sure.
And some many longer, and so when you think about that, you have to have that has to be part of who you are. Like you have to start that whole process with there's going to be some that are on a long journey and that, we won't know for maybe more than that, could be several decades, is that what's the effectiveness of that? So there can be test products that are out there that, only time will tell. And I think that that's kind of an amazing statement, for a company that, you're going to take, those risks, you call them. You're going to take those risks, those bets. Some will pay off, some won't, but still in their collectiveness, that's going to be something that's worth investing in.
That's that culture piece.
That's a culture.
Right. That's that. We're okay with failure here.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Cool. So then, how many times do you have to go back and almost keep the engineers motivated to be like, I promise, we just got to get a little further with this guy. Get me a prototype, please.
Yeah. We're all humans, and so.
Oh yeah, I would get annoyed with you all the time. I'd be like, dude, no, Jim, it's not happening.
That's right. So we're all humans, and
I promised the customer in 2 weeks I'd have a prototype.
Yeah. So some are rigged where I'm rigged where I have zero patience. So I want it now, and we have others, that are very good about sort of laying you out a process that they're going through, right? And I would also say there's admiration, in between that. There's admiration that I've learned to really understand that, that thoroughness, to go through and unlock. And then when something doesn't work, to then pivot and go a new direction. Learning that, has helped me. It's almost like it's helped me gain more patience, because, as you're monitoring, as you're trying to move fast, you're also recognizing that something that great probably wasn't instantaneous anyhow.
No way. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you almost have to, it's a little bit of parenting, right?
That's right.
Like
That's
see the end, I need to get you to where you need to be by the time you're 16, 17,
That's
18,
right.
all right? And you're 2 right now. So we're
that's right.
Slowly stair step this thing. What's like a project that you're most proud of?
Oh, so, gosh, it's hard to really pick, from the variety of things that I've done. I would say to you is that there's just, anytime that it went, for me, when it went from sort of, things that we were trying to protect, planet, and soil and things like that, when I got to humans, it was really looking at sort of the most, extreme job. And it may not have been a job where we were going to make the most money. But it was a job where it was a miserable job. And it was a job where once I did, that market profile and I actually lived through what I call, jobs to be done, so it's really understanding the DNA of the worker, and what they experienced in that day. We did a project where we had workers that worked in front of a furnace and might get occasionally hit, with molten bad things. So it was never going to be giant, but it was really almost like explaining it back inside of Gore. We can do this. Like we can make the day in the life of that worker so much better. Why should we not do this, right? So I think that's really when you're able to commercialize that. You really took it from, we're not just all about making money. We actually did what we say we're going to do. And I like that. I like being part of that.
It's the biggest impact, really, is what you're looking at. You're not necessarily considering like, oh, look at the market cap of that particular industry. You're like, this has the greatest, it may be the smallest worker force in the space, but it has the greatest to gain from us stepping into the particular marketplace and providing what our expertise are, which is solutions and technology.